Hey everyone, welcome to Saturday Night Popcorn. This is Jason.
This is Kai, and we have another great discussion for you today. It's a new year, new month, so we have a new topic for the month. We're doing what I call cuffing season, or rom com January. If you want to call it that. I'm gonna stick with cuffing season. But the first movie to kick that off is Punch Drunk Love from 2002.
Yeah. And then just spoiler warning for the movie. We are going to be talking about the movie and kind of giving, I don't know if you can like really
From 2002.
spoil the ending, but but we do want to kind of give a general description or summary of the film before we start talking about it. Punch Drunk Love is a quirky romantic comedy about Barry Egan, a lonely and troubled novelty items salesman who suffers from social anxiety and rage issues. His life changes when he meets Lena, a sweet and mysterious woman who works with his sister. Meanwhile, he also gets involved in a scam by a phone sex company that tries to extort money from him. As Barry falls in love with Lena, he must also deal with his inner demons and the external threats that jeopardized his happiness. I think that's a fairly poignant summary of
like perfect. The movie is
yeah.
chaotic as shit.
This is I don't know where in the filmography this movie lands, but this is a movie from Paul Thomas Anderson,
PTA.
yeah, who is very regarded, and I think at that point too was already regarded as a fairly notable director.
He already had Magnolia. I think Boogie Nights had already come out at that point, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Boogie Nights had already come out, I think, a long time ago. And then There Will Be Blood and Licorice Pizza recently, The Phantom Thread, which is the last film Daniel Day-Lewis ever did. And it was a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. So it's chaotic. I think you kind of summed it up with that word.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you like about this movie?
I like seeing Adam. So you and I both grew up in an era of like Adam Sandler was everywhere. So this was one I had heard of as a kid, but I was still in that Billy Madison, Waterboy, Little Nicky, that frame of mind for Adam Sandler. And it took me until now to finally watch this. And I still think it fits in those like comedy because of just how crazy he is. Like I could honestly see Barry being Happy Gilmore, because Happy Gilmore had rage issues too.
maybe it's an extension of Happy Gilmore when he's like
there's no golf club
or before or something. I don't know. Like
it's what just a golf club.
Billy Madison when he finally graduates and everything. That's his job that he starts up.
He had hidden sisters in the mansion.
Yeah, he's like 10,000 sisters and everything. But yeah, and I think this is funny because it's like it is a comedic role that we all remember. Adam Sandler, like Patty, when he like cried when he was telling the doctor or like the dentist that he needed to go see someone to go talk to them, go talk to someone and talk about his emotions and stuff. Like Patty was like, he's perfect at like that fake crying or like the crying, just like emotion. And then he's perfect at playing off the rage and stuff. And we saw that with Happy Gilmore and stuff. So you do see where Adam Sandler came from. This is not to the point where he was in Uncut Gems, where Uncut Gems, I think, was like if funny and romantic and kind of serious was like right here, Uncut Gems is like all the way over to the other side of the spectrum.
It's like, I'm just trying to survive in this movie. Like,
yeah.
I didn't ask you what was it that stood out that you liked about this movie?
It's funny. It made the description says he has social anxiety. I have anxiety myself, and this movie made my anxiety just like boil over because I wrote down, it felt like the anxiety level of like watching the Safdie brothers movies, like Uncut Gems and Good Time, where you're like, there's a lot going on. You're hearing a lot of like there's the outside noise, and it's almost like I think it's reflective of like how Barry in the movie kind of like imagines or perceives the world around him. And I think that's like sort of like a play onto like how he kind of also experiences the world,
Yeah.
where it's chaotic around his like 10,000 sisters. But I noticed that the chaoticness kind of lowered as he like developed more of the relationship with Lena.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of like stake in the ground where she can kind of like level him off and everything. He still has the beast within him and everything when he needs
Hence
to,
the
but
bathroom that he breaks.
the bathroom, and then he goes like Philip Seymour Hoffman, he's gonna like beat him
Oh my
up and everything.
goodness.
So it the anxiety level and the chaoticness made me feel weird and awkward and stuff. But I think that added to the story where he you see more of like you feel more for his character, where like even Patty was like, man, that scam over like the sex phone
Yo.
thing, like yeah, that can happen to anybody, like
Yeah.
anybody, like it sucks because like you feel for him that like that's a crappy situation, and then he's also trying to like romance this woman where he doesn't want to tell her also that
That was my favorite part of the movie, honestly. Like watching him on the phone, like trying to say, "Hey, I want to speak to a woman about sexual things," but just being like, "Well, yeah, I don't want to say my real name," but then gives his whole credit card, his whole
social.
social, and I'm like, "Bro, you just ruined your whole life over a phone call."
Yeah, and it would have been easy because he kind of just did exactly what most people do back then, and even still today. Your credit
Right,
card
just
gets
cut your credit
stolen,
card.
you cancel it, and you cut it up and everything, and like it goes away.
Yeah.
But then these like white trash people kind of come around and stuff, and like even
Thugs.
like yeah, they try to beat him up and stuff, and like
Yeah.
take money from him. But man, I was like, there's some shots in here too that are very beautiful. Like I think the beginning of the movie where it's like it's that kind of like weird time in the day where the sun is just barely coming up, so the sky is like kind of orange
Hmm.
and cloudy and stuff. So it's like and like I think there's some like beautiful shots where like you see sort of where Paul Thomas and Anderson kind of like goes on and moves on to more kind of bigger movies
Yeah.
and kind of utilizes that cinematography kind of for his other movies down the road and stuff. But yeah, it was very chaotic. But it's funny because I feel like I'm talking too much right now. But yesterday I came home and I was exhausted.
Hmm.
I was like, damn, I have to watch this movie. Not like I wasn't like happy to watch the movie, but like I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna pay attention. I was tired. But the moment the movie started, I was like wide awake. I was like, I'm in it. I'm
Really?
done. I'm ready to go. It woke me up. And so I think that's like what like also changed my perspective and probably what adds to my rating for this film.
Damn near perfect. No, I think I'm trying to think why, because my rating is different than yours. Like, I guess we'll get to that point in the episode. But when I didn't know what to expect, so I had heard of
Mhm.
this movie. I knew it was PTA, and I knew we were doing rom coms. So for whatever reason, in my head, I I think I mixed this up with Spanglish. So like I turned this
Oh.
on thinking like, oh, it's gonna be a super sappy rom com like Spanglish, and then it plays out, and I'm like, what in the hell? Like in the first 5 minutes, I'm like, this man is freaking out, okay, and then it's just out of nowhere car wreck, and I'm like, what? Where's the love and where's the kisses? What is this? So it threw me off, but I ended up enjoying it. There were moments, and I think the anxiety portions are what got me, because I'm like, you have, and I think it reflects back to like having a support system. Like he had his sisters, but it didn't seem like they were really there to support his internal issues. They were just like, oh, are you okay? He responds, and they're like, all right, whatever, we won't deal with it. Instead of being like, okay, we know you have rage issues, let's make sure we get you to the proper people to help you. So I think that's kind of where my rating came from, was watching this person that his whole family knows he has issues that he needs help with, but nobody was actually there to help him. It was an outside person, Lena, that was actually there to be like, okay, I'll be your support system without actually saying that.
Yeah, it's funny because I kind of put this as like you're exactly right. Where like you have no idea what you're stepping into with this movie. Where like I almost like I like shook in the chair in my sofa when that car crash happened. I was
Oh
like,
yeah,
"What the hell is this? Like this is but yeah, like this is supposed to be a rom com."
yeah.
But I think this is also like someone must have came up to Paul Thomas Anderson or like I don't know. His pitch was like, I'm doing a rom com, but I'm doing it my way. And it's
I can see that.
this is like a totally different way. Like, yeah, you can get the sappy ones and everything, but I think I enjoy movies like these, like almost like In the Mood for Love too, because it also allows me to understand those emotions too. Because I'm
Mm,
almost like in the same boat as like Barry, where he's like he has no clue what his emotions are, and he basically needs Lena to kind of assist him with like understanding an emotion other than rage.
yeah,
And I think that's like where like his sisters don't do well with that, where like his sisters just add to that, where it's like where he's like his
he
like
has a
going in
baseline.
and out of the house was hilarious. And it's like I the moment he opened the door and it's like I don't want to be here, you know. I feel it where it's like it's hilarious and stuff, but I don't know. I think it's like I think that's what added to my maybe because like I was tired and then like
Mm,
it like jolted me awake and everything and I
yeah,
was
no,
enthralled
the
by
car
the
crash will do
story.
that too. Yeah,
Yeah, so it was very interesting, and I think the best description is like this is what Paul Thomas Anderson believes a rom com should be.
yeah. This is a very
Have some
like,
action and then some
yeah,
love.
very manly rom com of like, let's have car crashes. Let's have this man just break doors in restrooms. Like, no, some
Wear
of
the
the
same
rom
suit
coms
every
have
day
that
too. He's like a Trump suit on
same
all
suit.
the
Like, bro, what are you doing?
time.
Same suit. And then he had
Yeah.
Luis Guzman. I love that dude. I love Luis Guzman. But Luis Guzman starts wearing a suit. And I'm like, you sell plungers and shit. Like, what are you wearing the suit for?
It was funny when he like walks into his like little like inventory space and then like he's all upset and then the rest of them, Luis Guzman and like all the other guys are like following him like we'll beat up anybody that we need to.
We'll protect you at all costs.
Yeah, that's his support system. Like his sisters
Yes,
are like
that's true.
the
His
one that
sisters do
add to the
whatever.
anger.
Oh, just poking a bear. Like, bro,
Yeah.
every second just poking a bear.
I don't know. Do you think the anxiety stuff, like it's a very anxious filled movie. Do you think
Yeah.
that's like the biggest negative or what else could you see from this?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest negative. The rest of it was cool. Like and even once I kind of got the understanding that okay, this character has anxiety, that eased up. But yeah, I think that was my only gripe was just the anxiety and not knowing. I get the control freak in me was like, okay, what the hell is gonna happen? And then shit would happen, and I'm like, what the fuck? What the hell?
That is it is the hardest. I think it kind of like could factor into like who you like recommend this to.
Yeah,
Because it is a lot to take in and everything. There's like never a silent moment also because if you notice
that's true.
like this movie reminded me of La La Land, and I don't know if that's like where your mind kind of went. It was like a musical because there's always like this undertone of instrumental music
Yeah.
that's kind of like, and it's very whimsical as he's kind of like traveling around. He's
Oh
running through
yeah,
that kind of apartment building to find her again.
yeah.
So
That
there's
part got me.
very
I forgot
that
about that.
that romantic. That's what add to the romanticness too,
Yeah,
where the romance of like he's like trying to find her and he's like the music's adding to that like sense of wonder like where is she and then like the moment he like finds her like it zooms in to like that like pinnacle shot of like them like kissing each other
an
so
embrace.
it's like like Patty I was like telling Patty I was like did this influence La La Land and then Patty looked up and she said no but also there could be another movie down the road or in the past that influenced this movie and
For
then
sure.
influenced La La Land. And so it's
Yeah.
like there's some influences, I think, but that's where my mind went, where it's like there's such a whimsical feeling to it because there's always this music that you hear.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a constant hum that's probably in his head, where it's like there's always something going on. And I think that's where the movie's like really like poignant with.
I think what also added to my rating was the fact that I'd watched Lizzie Head, which is a short we talk about in Colonel in our new Colonel episode coming out. I'd watched that first. Like I watched that in the morning, and then I watched Punch Drunk at night, and I see similarities in these two.
Mm-hmm.
So in Lizzie Head, there was a lot of flashbacks, like some wild stuff would happen, and then it's like then you find out, oh, it actually didn't happen. So I think I went into Punch Drunk thinking like, oh, he's not actually gonna break the freaking glass at his mom's house. It's like, oh no, he broke the
No,
glass at his
he
mom's
did
house, and then
that.
he was at a nice fancy restaurant with a lady, and he destroyed the bathroom. There's no way he did that. Oh wait, he did do that. So I, so I think that's what added to it was the fact that Lizzie Head they would show you like, oh no, this actually didn't happen. This is all in her head. Punch Drunk was like, nah, he did this. Like he was wilding out.
Right. And the fact that she still loves him at the end, it's like the
Yeah.
one thing she was pissed off about was like, don't leave me at the hospital.
He just whispers, hey, I destroyed the bathroom. She's like, why'd you leave me in the hospital? It's like, lady, what? That's not that important right now.
I don't know. I really enjoy this movie, and I think and when we talk about our rating, which mine, I was like fluctuating.
Mhm.
And I think the ending is like what kind of like made me get to it, where it's like, granted, it's a rom com, so it should end in that like they fall in love and
Yeah,
everything. And
Disney.
I think, yeah, I think there's like no way around it. I don't know if like Paul Thomas Anderson was like, what if we just kill one of these people, or like they like when they don't fall in love, and so I wonder if that went through his head. But the ending and the culmination of everything, I gave it a 4.5, and I was like, this is like in the mood for love level for me in terms of
Oh,
like
yeah,
how in the mood for love is like a very like that's a beautiful movie,
that's
and
a
I think
beautiful movie.
this kind of has that same with the anxiety driven kind of thing. As I was like, I was gonna go down to a 4 because I was like, that's kind of hard to take in
Yeah.
sometimes. But I don't know. I really enjoyed this, and I wonder sometimes. It's like, how come I didn't watch this earlier?
It felt like it was one of those ones that like everybody knows of, but you're not gonna rush and have it on the top of your list. You're like, oh, I'll get to it eventually. Like I know it's good, so I'll get to it. Is how I felt going into this. Like my rating is different than yours. I was, I gave it a 2.5. I enjoyed it, but me, I think me being a control freak and wanting to know what's gonna happen next, and then me assuming that he had assuming with the car crash. So I assumed that with the car crash there was like a love interest that was in the car and he was having a flashback. And so I made up a whole story in my head like, oh, we're eventually going to see why he's acting the way he is because he was acting so anxious. I'm like, oh, this must be because of the car crash. That's why they had this as a poignant moment in the beginning. So I messed myself up while watching this. Instead of just going into it like I did with Lizzie Head, blind, like, okay, cool, let's see how it plays out. Something occurred, and I was like, oh, I know what happens at the end of this movie. I was very wrong. But I'll still stick with my 2.5. I will say I would watch it again.
Yeah.
I would probably give it a higher rating if I watched it again.
It's funny because it's like this is if someone asks you like, oh, like what's a Paul Thomas Anderson movie to watch,
Yeah.
it's definitely not going to be this one that comes to mind right away.
No, there will be
But
blood.
this is
Boogie
like
Nights.
I would say Paul Thomas Anderson, or PTA is easier to say, sits there and probably thinks, I wonder if he thinks like, man, Punch Drunk Love is like the the
Pinnacle.
movie.
Yeah.
Where it's like all the other ones, like, yeah, I can make these giant epics, these like other things, but like I think that like when you know you can make a very different movie that's a like a widespread genre, like the rom-com, but make it different and everything. And it, like, you're almost like, this is not a rom-com. This is like
No,
Die Hard, but he like
yeah,
kisses the girl too many times.
this, yeah,
But I don't know. Who would you recommend this to?
Adam Sandler fans. Um, I would say, yeah, I would say this was a good rom com. Like for someone that's like, oh, I want to watch a rom com, I would throw this out there, but then give them that disclaimer of like, it's not your typical rom com, and leave it at that.
Yeah. It's not your 51st dates.
Yeah,
If you want to kind of use another Adam Sandler movie, like I would definitely tell my parents to watch this. I think they will kind of be confused by like all the chaos to it, but I think it's something that's enjoyable when you're like, I want to like watch a rom com, but this is different. Like it's not 51st dates. It's not
yeah.
like that sappiness and everything. Like you know that they're gonna end up together at the end. Like my mom really loves like those Hallmark like Christmas movies.
Oh,
So it's
dude,
not at
what?
that level where it's
Those
like
are
you know
horrible.
exactly what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
But
Jennifer, you can't do that for Christmas. You
yeah,
love me
right.
too much. Like what?
But I really think my parents would enjoy this. Where it's like it's almost shocking to see like it's almost like I can't believe people were so shocked with Adam Sandler's portrayal of the dude in Uncut Gems when there's this movie where it's like
Yeah,
it's fairly different enough where you're like, whoa, this is Adam Sandler. Like it just doesn't match sometimes where it's like you get where he comes from, but then also this is like a more elevated movie in terms of his comedy and stuff.
I heard. So I was listening to Rick Rubin's pod. I had told you we were texting about it before we started recording, but Rick Rubin had Daniel Kilunga. I always mess up that man's, but he's the main star in Get Out,
Mm,
and they're having a conversation about acting. And Daniel was like, "Yeah, I started in comedy, and I think comedy helped me become a better dramatic actor." And after watching this and seeing like Jim Carrey go from comedy and then do a handful of dramatic roles. Adam Sandler has a handful. Robin
Steve Carell.
Williams. Yeah. So you see these well-known comedians or actors that are known for their comedic timing or whatever, the comedic roles. Once they try dramatic roles, they're all amazing at it. So I
Hmm.
think that once he said it, I was like, oh, that makes sense. It seems like if you can make someone laugh, you can make somebody cry.
I think so. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
almost like that. Like it's a very two ends of the spectrum, but they're like
Mhm.
a direct point to point where it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, like you said, like if you can make them laugh, you can definitely make them cry because it's like, yeah, Robin Williams has made me laugh and cry at the same time.
That's my guy. Well, Jim Carrey too. That's my guy.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's actually a good thing to kind of think about. It's like, yeah, you do see these like Steve Carell and all that. Like everyone loves The Office, but like the Foxcatcher, I think, is like my
Yeah.
favorite movie with his like unbelievable performance.
And he's far
But
from making you laugh in that.
right.
Those are real tears.
I haven't asked this question. I thought about it today. I was like doing a lot of stuff today, and I was like, I haven't asked this question lately. Will you buy Punch Drunk Love for your personal movie collection? I have it behind me, my movie collection, but I don't know
Oh,
if
you
I'll
already
buy it.
had it.
No, I don't have it. No, I just my movie
Oh,
collection
your
is in
collection.
my
Okay. I was
closet.
like, dang, you already got it? Like, man. I would rent it again. I would rent it again and then I would have a better idea. Like as of right now, I would want to say I want to watch it again, but I can't say I would add it to my collection.
I'll buy it and put it right next to In the Mood for Love. Just like right there.
Dang.
Just be like, all right,
Uh,
someone needs to watch In the Mood for Love. And then if you're gonna wanna watch another rom com, just punch Drunk Love right next to it.
so are they 1 and 2 or 1A, 1B?
No, it's definitely 1 and 2. In the Mood for
Okay.
Love for sure. If you're like looking for like a beautiful and a good story, it almost like that is like beat for beat, like never kind of ends in terms of
Yeah.
until you're like get to the very end. This, it's like you have that ebb and flow where like you're almost kind of like shocked by the chaoticness. Um, but yeah, I would be happy to have both of them inside of my kind of my closet back there. Yeah. Yeah, so let us know in the comments of this YouTube video if you've seen this movie Punch Drunk Love by Paul Thomas Anderson, if you liked it, disliked it, or any comments you have for it. And please let us know if you would like to like and subscribe to Saturday Night Popcorn, where we have more film reviews like this and other series on our channel.